driving that mission for our team. Bethany Hall is here. She is Chosen's Director of Training and Content. Bethany is a licensed nurse practitioner specializing in complex developmental trauma. She is also a foster adoptive mom, and she has a wealth of knowledge that she has been sharing with our team and our Chosen community for the past 4 years. Matt Kirsch, I think many of you have probably had communication and interaction with Matt. He serves as our Director of Mission Advancement, really working to build meaningful relationships with financial partners, including individuals and families, businesses, and foundations. Matt joined our team last fall, and he has 20 years of experience in nonprofit development and a deep passion for helping families push through adversity and stay together as a family unit, and is a fierce advocate for Chosen's unique and impactful mission. I'll let Bethany start us off and tell us a little bit about Chosen's mission.
Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Angela, for kicking us off. Happy Foster Care Awareness Month. So in that vein, we wanted to just come before some of our key partners and thank you first for being invested in child welfare in your many different facets and in family well-being. I'm excited to get to know some of you better, but I'm assuming if you're on this call, you have a vested interest in foster and adoption and helping those families thrive. And so we wanted to get you all together today to just talk a little bit about what's going on in foster care and what Chosen is uniquely positioned to do and to continue on this moonshot vision and how you can partner with us. So to kick us off, you've probably heard, if you've been in this space any amount of time, some typical stats around children in care versus numbers of foster families. So the average number right now is about 391,000 kids in care, which is just an astronomical number of children impacted by the child and family well-being system that we're looking for, but currently we know has some significant challenges. It's probably not something that you haven't heard about, just the brokenness of the system, the trauma these kids experience. And when we look at number of licensed homes, that number is closer to about 214,000. So you've probably heard about this issue, that there's not enough families for these children. And while that is true, and there are a lot of organizations leaning in there to try to recruit foster families, what I want to talk to you about today is something a little bit different that maybe you haven't heard about. And I want to take it from a very personal angle because, as Angela said, this is very personal to me. I am a foster and adoptive mom, and many of my friends and the people that we interface with on a regular basis are living this daily. And so I want to give you like a sneak peek behind the curtain of what this really looks like beyond the data. Now we have data. Angela is a data queen. And if you have questions about hard numbers beyond what I share today, she can give you boatloads. But I want to talk to you about what this looks like in the day-to-day. And I want to talk to you about something different. I want to talk to you about the ones that say yes. So that 214,000, those foster families that have said yes to welcoming a child in their home, okay? Businesses, if any of you are in business or org leadership, you know that it's very expensive to onboard new people, right? Best case scenario is to take care of the people that you have. And so I want to talk to you today about those that have said yes, those that are in that 214,000 number, those foster families that exist. What you may not know is that up to 50% is the attrition rate of foster families that initially say yes. And so I want to talk about why that is the case and what Chosen is doing and how you can partner with us. So all children that experience foster care on some level experience something called relational trauma. Okay, so this happens to varying degrees, but every child who's removed from their family of origin experiences significant trauma. And because of that, many of them experience trauma related to their caregiver, their primary caregiver. And so that creates a very unique challenge. That rewires the brain in such a way that what the child most needs, which is connection and the safety of a loving caregiver, is often what they most fear. And that creates a very challenging dynamic in the brain when the person you were supposed to go to for care and protection actually harmed you or was unable to care for you. All the way down the line and across the lifespan, there are outworkings of that in relationship. So for these families that have said yes, that have been brave, that have said, yes, we feel called to do this, they're bringing a child into their home with this type of baggage, this type of challenge, where instead of being able to go towards the help and towards the safety of a loving caregiver, they actually resist that. So what does that look like on a daily basis? Well, this screen tells you some of the daily challenges that these families face. Things like explosive emotional outbursts, physical and verbal aggression, significant developmental delays in school challenges, mental health diagnoses, and then the day in and day out rejection of care as a parent. So this screen feels very personal to me because I have experienced many of these things to varying degrees in my own home with my own children. And I have seen this play out on an even larger scale as we have engaged with so many families over the last 4 years that I've worked with Chosen. Um, Jamie Finn is somebody I follow in social media. She is an influencer in the child and family welfare space. And a couple of weeks ago, she posed a question to those of us in this foster and adoptive space. And she said, "What is your unhinged confession? What is your unhinged confession?" Far and away, foster families all across the nation responded with, "If I would have known what I was getting myself into, I would not have said yes. I would not have said yes." And if I'm being honest with every single person on this screen, my husband and I have had that thought. There's been times when I've seen the cost to my other children. There's been times when the financial cost is so steep, when there's one more call from the principal's office and my heart starts to race again, and I'm just not sure what's going to be on the other end of that call and how we're going to navigate it, where we wonder if we can keep going, where we feel guilty for even having the thought, but we just feel like we can't keep going. Chosen is stepping in for those parents, for the parents that are afraid, that are isolated, that are unsure, that are ready to give up. When we have families, Mark, did you have a question? If anybody has questions, feel free to jump in. It might have just been somebody off mute, but I don't want to talk over anybody. These behaviors lead to foster care instability, right? So if in my case, you've adopted a child, it may not be a question of a dissolution, although those do occur. It may just be a passing thought. But if you have a child in your home in temporary care, there is a question of, can we keep going? Are we going to disrupt this placement? And the reality is that most foster children experience more than 2 placements every year, which means at least 2 families have said, we can't deal with this. We can't deal with these behaviors. We can't deal with these challenges. And at first blush, we might be tempted to judge that. But as I've said, I hope I can pull back the curtain a little bit and share with you the reality of what these families are facing that arrive them at this point. When families come to us, 83% of the families we serve, when we ask them on a scale of 1 to 5, what is their level of crisis? 83% say they're in a state of crisis. 83% say we don't know if we can go on. We are considering disrupting this foster care placement. We are exhausted. We feel like we are out of options. So I shared with you a little bit about my family. I want to share a little bit about what this looks like firsthand in these families. This is like phrases like, we can't keep living like this. We're exhausted. I had a former client reach out to me a couple weeks ago for a dosing call, and she said, I can't even look at him. I'm so frustrated and I'm so disgusted with these behaviors. I can't even look at him, and I feel horrible for how I'm feeling about my child. They've said, it's ruining our lives. I have nothing left to give. I've also seen firsthand the miracles that happen when Chosen steps in for these families and advocates on their behalf. There is no family, I believe, without hope. In the last 4 years, I have worked with and I've seen our care managers work with some of the most apparently hopeless situations where you heard the story. If you heard the stories, you would say, I don't know how these families could ever keep going. And I have thought those same things. I remember when I used to take first clients personally, getting a first family and thinking, this feels like rolling a boulder straight uphill. How are we going to help this family unpack where they're currently at? But I've also seen time and time again, after weeks of meeting with these families, things starting to shift. There's starting to be a renewed hope for these families. One of my very favorite stories, I'm going to actually come back to this in just a second. One of my very favorite stories is a client that I just actually had that dosing call with, and she called me. And I don't know if you know this, but at Chosen, not only do we do weekly care managing sessions, but we have dosing. So at any time when the wheels are falling off, you can call your care manager. And I had a family call me and she said, listen, I'm standing outside the bathroom. I have every essential oil we own that I've rubbed on this child. I have tried every trick you told me and they still won't shower and I'm about to lose it. And so I had the privilege of being able to do what that mom needed in that moment, which is just say, that is really hard. And what she needed in that moment wasn't another tool. She needed somebody to not say, have you tried this? Have you thought about this? And given her another really simple answer. She needed somebody who has also wrestled a full grown adolescent and tried to get them to brush their teeth, say, that is really hard. And I'm so sorry. I just want to take a minute and sit with you. Why don't we take a walk outside? Let's talk together for a minute. And so, one of my favorite phrases, a way to describe what Chosen does, is we regulate the regulators. So, those of us that are parenting children with hard histories know we have to help them regulate. We've got to get them over the hump. And in that moment, that mom needed some regulation herself because she was carrying the weight of knowing that there was probably a lot of reasons that child didn't want to get in the shower, all of the trauma behind it. But she was also carrying the weight of knowing that she has to try to help this child navigate bathing because there's social and physical implications of not bathing for the rest of your life. So this mom was carrying the weight of both the trauma and the future of this child that she said yes to, and it felt overwhelming to her. She needed a lifeline, and that is what Chosen provides. These are some of the markers of influence. These are the data points that these stories represent. 81% of these families were thinking about disrupting a placement and changed their minds after working with our services and our care managers. 91% said that the help that Chosen gave them was very relevant to their current situation. 80% said they felt more equipped to parent, and almost 60% had a decrease in stress. So I've seen firsthand these miracles that happen, stories where families say, you helped us to be able to keep going. I wouldn't have made it through the year without you. I had a client reach out the other day and she said, I wouldn't have made it through that year without Chosen. So I just want to tell you today, it takes more than good intentions and a brave yes. There are people that are out there that are raising their hand, that are saying we want to be a part of the fight. But when the rubber meets the road and times get really challenging, they also need someone in their corner. The current social welfare system and Medicare and Medicaid are not set up for that. There's lots of services for the child themselves, but there's very little support for parents and families. They don't need another book. They don't need another class. They need somebody to be with them in the day in and the day out, to listen and to encourage and to come alongside. So I want to close with a story. This is the Miller story. I'm not going to read you the entire thing. It's on the website. But some of the phrases that they talked about, I think, are super impactful. This mother said they met with their care manager, and my care manager said, I see you. And I started crying. No one had said that before. Everyone else kept saying, you're amazing. But I didn't feel amazing. I felt like I was failing. She got it. She said, this is hard, but we're going to get you there. And that is what we do. We see these families in their pain. I shared a story on LinkedIn the other day. I said, Chosen is the firefighters of social welfare. Rather than running away from the smoke and the fire, they bravely, these care managers, day in and day out, walk into the fire with these families to help them, to rescue them, to come alongside, to encourage them, and to give them the tools that they need to do something different. She gave us tools and strategies that actually worked. She reminded me to give myself grace and to be patient. I'd get down on myself thinking I was a terrible mom, and she'd say, slow down. This takes time. It's not about fixing behaviors, the dad said. It's about building connection, helping him feel safe, and showing him he's loved. Chosen has made all the difference in helping us stay a family. Matt?
Thanks, Bethany. Um, yeah, so grateful y'all are here with us. You know, foster families opening their homes is really just the beginning. And Bethany talked about how overwhelming that becomes, but most of them just they don't have the realization of how challenging things can become, and that's what brings them to Chosen. You may not know that May is Foster Care Awareness Month. And so that's kind of the space that we've really been thinking a lot about. You know, we work with adoptive families and kinship families, but we're kind of thinking about the families that are in that foster process, still trying to figure things out, pre-adoption, and just facing these incredibly overwhelming challenges, the doubt that comes up from that. And they're seeking someone who can come alongside them, bring direction, bring encouragement. So You can go to the next slide, Bethany. Ah, well, okay. I was thinking there was another slide. Yeah, it's it's just such an honor that to be a part of this work. As Angela said earlier, I joined in the fall, and I'm just really grateful that I'm getting to know so many partners, and the even for like the strongest souls that say yes to this journey. It's daunting to walk this road alone. It's unfamiliar. There's rough terrain, there's corners they can't see around. They don't see an end in sight. And that's not just a metaphor. That, like, for families seeking to effectively and lovingly parent a child that's experienced distressing impacts from the foster care system, that is their life day after day. And you're giving to Chosen when you choose to become a partner. It forges a surer path for them, and it's smoother. It offers illumination. It gives them a navigation system that recalibrates in response to their unique challenges and the hazards that come up along the way. And it's really through generosity of our partners that allows us to walk alongside families, and not just at the start of the journey, but as it continues past all the potholes and detours and accidents that present themselves. And together we can give these families crucial support that they're desperately seeking in most of these situations. We can give them direction that's dependable, an empathetic and robust model of care with an approach that's focused on building a holistic sense of well-being, not just welfare, not just physical safety, but wholeness, healing, development that is healthy across the board. Um, to give them clarity and confidence that they don't have to turn around, they don't have to pull out, and that we can create a reality where they're able to live with the knowledge that they can find their way to where they want to be and create that environment that they desire. And that's not to say that things are always clear, and there's times where it's going to feel like the pavement suddenly ends, but um, committing to financially stand with Chosen allows us to continue to allow families to gain the understanding that they can find their way back to their intended course, and they have the opportunity to get themselves home. And that's our desire, is to create a sense of home for these children. We want to give it back to these families that feel like our peace has been rocked. Our marriage is feeling the effects. In many cases, there's biological kids that are struggling, and like Bethany mentioned, the Millers, and I've gotten to know them pretty well. I've spent time with them a few times, and just hearing in a very personal way from the father in this situation. uh, it's wild. Some of the moments that they've had to walk through with their 9-year-old son, and just really out there crazy things that most people do not have to deal with as a parent. These kids, even kids that have come out of the system at 18 months old, barely a year old, down the road, they're experiencing the outflow of trauma that is just unique to kids who have endured time in this system. The feelings of abandonment and neglect are really pervasive. And our goal is to turn that around and see kids have the opportunity to have a successful life, to be able to connect with people. We talk all the time about how the core of what we do have chosen is to create these healthy relational connections where attachment that is secure takes place, and it changes everything. These kids feel alone, they feel unlovable, they feel that something is wrong with them, and equipping parents with the tools that they need to just handle some of these things and to remember they're not alone. They can contact their care manager. We are available as things come up. And the team of care managers are just phenomenal people. They have huge hearts for for the families that are navigating these challenges in this landscape. They have the ability to adapt on the fly. And, they're not just opening up a course book and saying like, okay, they're saying this, I'm gonna click A and tell them that. They're really thinking creatively. They're referencing like, okay, what has been happening recently in this family? What are the challenges? What are the victories? And let's develop a game plan according to that. And then that's really powerful to have that level of responsiveness and to tailor the process of care. Angela and Bethany and I are all so grateful to be a part of this work. We're here because we have a desire to support the healing that's happening through the mission of Chosen. And we're so grateful for those of you that are here that are donors and partners. And we'll be passing this along to folks that weren't able to be here today. And I hope that you're challenged by the difficulties that are presented by the landscape, but you're encouraged that Chosen and you, being a partner, are doing something tangible and intentional to change things for the better. So thanks for being here. If you weren't here live, thank you for listening. We'll give a couple minutes for questions. I see that Paula um, has a question, but just as you leave today or as you listen to this today, I just really want to encourage you to think about how you may partner financially with this work. We have a campaign going on for Foster Care Awareness Month where we have a generous donor who's committed a pool of funds to match monthly giving, new monthly partners or existing partners that want to increase their support. So any gifts to Chosen during this time are doubled. And so I just ask you to think about uh, to what degree you might get on board as kind of an ongoing partner to provide that stability for families. It just means so much to our ability to carry on the mission and deliver the impact that's happening. So thank you so much. I'm gonna let Paula ask a question, and if anybody else has one, you can jump in.
Thank you, Matt. Bethany, I am also a foster adoptive mom of three, and they are now 18, 16, and 13. I also have two older biological children, Hunter Beaton and Haley. But Hunter is the CEO of Day One Bags. So from a partnership standpoint, we've delivered 240,000 bags across the country that are really high quality bags. Hunter's only 24, so he's really gotten a lot of people to stand behind the Day One Bags mission and help support other states in this situation of not giving them trash bags. On a personal level, all three of my kids that we've adopted came in with trash bags, which made an impression on Hunter when he was real young. He didn't understand why. Everything you described, Matt, as the family that you're dealing with, I currently have one 16-year-old child who's in jail. We have gone through a nauseum of trying to get therapy for him through Shoreline Treatment Center, through Laurel Ridge, through whatever. This child has never not feel loved. He has an adrenaline junkie attitude. He can't wait to be having these extreme behaviors. I, as a parent and also working in this space, received zero help from CPS with post-adoption services. It was horrible. I felt that feeling of I need to get a divorce. I need to run away. I got to get out of here. I felt everything that I was so confidently trying to do the right things. I read a lot, I'm educated, it was pathetic. My point is sharing this is I'm a parent who is in this space and I know who to ask and I know where to go. And I was still lost beyond belief. I still am. I have weekly calls with my one son. He was put in jail because he was a minor in possession of marijuana and he got caught and he was also had a history of being a runaway as well as I forgot other things. Anyway, point is he run away. He brought a gun to our home, which wasn't our gun. Point was, he's done a lot of things of a history of excitement and dares. People would dare him, and his circle of friends are just so important because those friendships that he was making he's the life of the party kind of guy, and he was doing those extreme behaviors that got him into trouble. And we're a consequential family. Anyway, the point of sharing this, number one, day one bags would love to partner with Chosen. But number two, I have been told many times I need to write a book because the trauma we have endured and also the worries I have for my 13-year-old daughter who's witnessed all this going through her home. I worried that magical 14, 15-year-old, we've all had them since they were at birth. But all of a sudden, 14, 15 years old comes along and boom, they're a totally different child. They're I hate to say it, but I'll say it. They were monsters. My 18-year-old attempted suicide. I had no clue it was going to happening or what was going on in his life. So we got him some help. My point of sharing this is we've been down this path and it's been absolutely uh shakes your faith as well because we're a very spiritual family. And I've gone to our priest and like I wasn't given this job to do this. This is too much. So I'm there with you. Anybody who feels this, I've done it and I'm still doing it. And I'm terrified that my 13-year-old, she doesn't know that she'll have a 14-year-old epiphany that it's time to be a rebel and do things that I shouldn't do. But hopefully it doesn't happen. And that's another thing. So that's just my story, but I wanted to offer our services as well.
Thank you so much for sharing, Paula. And I echo what you said. I was thinking about that this morning in preparation. I regularly think if I do this for a job and I have all these resources and all these people and I still feel so discouraged, how
Yeah.
must all these families that don't have any support feel? And that's why we feel so passionate about doing the work that Chosen does. So appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to jump in real quick? I'll close this in prayer in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to close this in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your grace. We pray for each of these families, God, that are feeling alone out there. They haven't found Chosen. They're not finding the resources and support they need. I pray that you would protect them, bless them, allow them to just be encouraged. And we thank you, God, that we have the opportunity to work with families that you do bring to us, that lasting change um, and true healing and development that creates an avenue for a meaningful life is happening. We're grateful for everyone here and that will listen to this that care deeply about this work, that they want to support with their financial contributions. They want to support with making connections. We're grateful for Chosen. Just pray that you would bless the work, bless each and every life that's represented here, their families, their businesses. We're grateful and pray that we'd have a wonderful rest of the day. We pray this in your son's name. Thanks again for joining, y'all, and thanks for listening. I hope that you were encouraged. Please reach out anytime. If you want to email me to talk about what giving might look like for you, email's really easy. It's just Matt, Matt, @chosen.care. So I will follow up with those of you that were here. And thank you again so much for joining us. And God bless y'all. And we hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.
It's just us now.
Okay,
Bethany, stop the recording.
I got it.